Welcome to Creative Manifestation. Today I wanted to talk about the topic of willingness and how it relates to creating your reality. So, willingness is a huge part of, I believe, the law of attraction, creating your reality and manifestation, because we have to be willing first to look at our reality and say, what are we creating? We have to be willing to accept that we've been creating something up until this point, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And when I started off on my journey, I was unconsciously creating, because we're creating at all times. We're always creating. But it's a matter of, are we doing it consciously or unconsciously? And this idea really stuck with me. It was very powerful to me thinking that. And so you have to kind of go down this rabbit hole of discovering why you've been creating, possibly unconsciously, your reality, and how you want to change that and start consciously creating. So willingness is the first step. You have to be willing to look at yourself and say, why have I been creating this reality the way that I've been creating it? You have to be willing to look at the choices you made up until this point that led you to what you've created. You have to be willing to make steps to change your reality. And you have to be willing to go against social constructs that keep you stuck, such as relationships and situations. And I think this is one of the most difficult things for people, because we're brought up in these societal constructs that want to keep us trapped, basically. They want to keep us trapped to keep the status quo going. So when you want to start creating your reality, you're going to shift that up. That's going to get shaken up. And that's when a lot of people get afraid and they stop. And then they say, I don't want to go that way because then I'm going to lose this person or that situation or whatever. And it's too scary and they want to be comfortable. So I think that's a huge, huge piece of this is willingness to step out of that comfort and to take a huge chance and a leap basically into the great unknown. And that's why it's intimidating and why people often, don't try to create their reality, because it can be terrifying. If you have to let go of these constructs that you believe are keeping you safe and that you believe are what your reality is. So how do we end up in the place where we're like, okay, I want to manifest my reality? And it's usually because we're not happy with the way things are. And you start to think, well, why is my reality like this? And you might see someone else's reality and you're like, wow, how did they get that reality? And I'm living in this reality. And there's so many resources out there. I just got into this reality transurfing book, and I feel like it's literally taking me to the next level. Because I've read so many books and listened to so many different people, and you kind of have to do that too. You have to be willing to put the work in. That's where willingness comes in again, because you have to be willing to constantly be reprogramming everything that you've been programmed to believe. So that's a huge part of this. Oftentimes it takes a hitting of a rock bottom or a dark night of the soul type of situation where you're like, okay, well, I can't take this anymore. I'm at the end of this situation. I can't go forward anymore because it's too difficult. And sometimes it takes that to say, I want to change my reality. It doesn't have to get to that level, But oftentimes as people, we want to stay comfortable. So we let it get to the point where we're so uncomfortable that we want to, that we, have to be in so much pain and we have to have such difficulties that we finally say enough. And so that's kind of like a part of that as well. We have to be a spiritual warrior for ourselves and never surrender. And this is like intense, it's intense. And because you have to be constantly tuning in to your own inner guidance and be a warrior for yourself. So like the willingness can go both ways. You have to be willing to do what it takes, but also you have to realize what you're not willing to do. And that's another big part of it. Like, what am I not willing to do now that's out of the vibration of where I want to be going? And that takes courage, because you need to be a warrior for your desire. And that's where another thing I wanted to mention is a relentless desire. So you need a relentless desire inside of you to change your reality, to want to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And it's not easy, because you're going to come up against these blocks and these self-doubt and all of the things that we come up against when we try to push ourselves out of the comfort zone. And there's tools and things like that we can utilize to help us do that. But it is one of the things that is going to require the willingness to come up against those things. And it's actually an imperative thing. Willingness is imperative in the process of manifestation. We have to be willing to give up addictions to things that keep us stuck in the 3D reality. So our current 3D reality situations that we have to be willing to give up certain addictions that like lower our vibration in the 3D reality, that kind of keep us in these old programs and paradigms. And that's a willingness as well. So that's what I wanted to share today, is the topic of willingness. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe.